Hilary. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Could you just introduce yourself to everybody listening and let them know who you are?
You bet. I am Hilary Hendershott. I am a traditional wealth manager, so a fiduciary fee-only financial advisor. My firm specializes in working with women, and we also offer some some profits consulting. So I run a program called the Money Blueprint Program. We're certified profit first professionals.
Awesome. And just for those listening who may not know, I know you mentioned like fiduciary fee only. Can you just break that down a little bit on like what that actually means and what makes that a little bit different than other providers?
Yes. So it may seem a little distasteful to talk about how your financial advisor gets paid, but it actually really matters because you want to make sure that the only people paying your financial advisor are his or her clients, not, for example, investment fund companies, insurance companies, et cetera, et cetera. When I give a recommendation, my clients can be confident it's lining their pockets and not mine. So that's the fee only part. And then the fiduciary is an oath that we take as professionals to always do what's right for our clients, to put our clients' interests even ahead of our own. So always removing conflicts of interest from the relationship, et cetera, et cetera. So for those of you who have gone to a quote unquote financial advisor and they immediately started asking you to buy insurance, you're not sitting with a fee only fiduciary because folks need to sell insurance because they earn big commissions to sell it. And have never earned a commission. My clients have never paid a commission.
So if I had to equate it to something that maybe someone's experienced, and this kind of came to me is, let's say you're going to like a health coach that you had particular goals you wanted to reach. And one of my marks of like any professional, whether it be health, wealth, anything, is how many questions they ask you when they meet you, not how many suggestions they have out the gate on what you should do. And I'm picturing like, and no offense to multi-level marketers, but I'm picturing like the people who are like, drink this smoothie, eat this thing. And they don't even ask you who you are, what you do, what your goals are. So
Right.
it's a really good signal of a strong professional. I think the more questions they ask you about your particular goals so they can serve you. Would you agree?
Sure. If you're selling jewelry, there's nothing wrong with being upfront about what you're selling, right? I have this product. Do you like it? You can buy it. But when it comes to things that need consultation that are custom to you, the investor, or you, the person who wants to remain healthy, you need a consultant and not a product salesperson.
Totally agree. And I know you work with a lot of women. What would you say one of the biggest struggles is, in particular for women, when it comes to serving them as a financial planner? What are some of the things that you have to overcome with them?
So many women have had money dysfunction in their lives in various ways. Some of the most long-term money dysfunction can come from the family of origin. So grew up poor or grew up very rich. And daddy always said, don't worry about a thing, dear, right? This is the job of the men in the room. And the most deleterious issues that women have to overcome can come from relationship money abuse. So one woman in particular, she came to me and she had been in a relationship where they were multimillionaires worth almost $10 million in net worth. He had never let her know where the money was. He never let her have a debit card or a credit card. She got like a cash allowance, right? And this came with all kinds of other emotional abuse. Of course, something like that isn't going to be siloed. And so when she's meeting with me, it's literally the first time she's getting a divorce. It's the first time she's taking charge of money in her entire life, and it's multi-millions. So the anxiety level, the impact on the nervous system is just tremendous. It sort of can't be overstated. So I just don't think anybody takes females aside as a group and says, this is how you do the money thing. So we deal with a lot of lack of confidence.
Totally, I can see that. And what got you so passionate about serving this particular market and getting into personal finance and wealth building yourself? What drove you into this profession?
Yeah, it's multi-pronged. And so first of all, I'm a few years into my career. I'm working as a staff financial advisor for someone else's firm. And I am advising multimillionaires on their portfolios during the day and coming home to a stack of bills at night that I won't open because I can't pay them. So I was a massive overspender, and having a degree in economics and the CFP designation did not change that. My brain, I'm going, oh, I don't make enough right now. I'm just going to spend everything I have. I'll save later, right? But in reality, I'm making $100,000 a year, spending 120. So I hastened myself to a financial rock bottom pretty dramatically. I had more than $600,000 in combined debt between student loans, credit cards, and a $420,000 mortgage on a condo that in 2008 fell to 190 in appraised value, right? So I had all this uncollateralized debt and a FICO score in the like high 400s. It was really quite dramatic. It stopped paying on my mortgage so that I could pay all my other debts, which means I came home one day to a padlock on my front door because the Santa Clara County Sheriff took that condo back on behalf of the credit union that actually owned it. And I just got really clear that if I continued to have the same behavior around money, I was going to have the same results. I mean, that's prima facie, right? It's like there's no other way around it. So I said to myself, I'm going to change everything about how I do money. And so I was kind of a very analytical money person. And then when I got real, I got vulnerable, I got humbled. I mean, I was quite embarrassed about what I had done to myself financially. And that's when I started reading about money psychology. I mean, I looked around, I'm like, what is dictating my behavior is my psychology. Clearly, it's not the numbers, it's not the math. My little calculator ain't helping. So I started reading about neuropsychology and the power of language and mindset. And I discovered the hole in my financial bucket was that instead of being engaged in the process of getting financially healthy, I was engaged in a project called Convincing You I was already there. Right. So you would have loved coming out for drinks or a meal with me. I'd have paid, right? Because I needed you to think that I was rich so you would like me. Meanwhile, I'm doing very destructive things to my actual reality of money. So really had an aha moment and a turnaround. And fast forward a couple years and I had rebuilt the bank accounts, refilled the retirement savings, bought another house, and figured like I can see the trajectory is completely different now. And I had the thought, Hilary, a lot of people could benefit from the lessons that you've learned. Now, I said it's multi-pronged. So let me just go into another facet of my career, which is that I grew up in my business around old white men. And I don't have anything against old white men. I'm married to a 50-something white man, right? Like I love them. And my father is one. It's not like I'm not rejecting them completely. However, I mean, they really treated me badly. Not all of them, but at conferences, they would come up to me and they would say, "So who do you do marketing for?" And like, "Does your daddy let you talk to clients?" I mean, I didn't make this up. They really said crap like that to me.
I know. They said that to me. No, like I've been there too. And it's always like, are we still here? And the crazy thing is too, Hilary, is like, I think people today hear the stories like that. I could tell you all the stuff people have said to me. And like, there's two things with that. One is that we are insanely resilient for just like kind of getting a thick skin around getting used to hearing that stuff. Right. But then also, I feel like we at least me, I started to it turned into white noise for me where I was like, look, I'm just going to keep going. But it's also very unbelievable for certain people to believe, like they think that what do you call it? That we're exaggerating it somewhat. And I'm like, no, legit.
Right, it's like an eye roll. Yeah. Like, are you still oppressed in 2023? Well, I mean, I've made my own success, but yeah, I am underestimated continuously.
So, yeah.
And it definitely fueled like the business that I started. For a while, it was just me in a room, not making cold calls, but like I had to hear the no's and ask again. But I was so fired up about proving them wrong. And then I had this moment, I think they call it a download. And I had the realization for many years, I've only been willing to see a female OBGYN. I just don't get going to see a man personally. That's my thing. So I was a Kaiser patient and you can request the gender of your doctors. And so I was always, I need to see a woman, And I had the realization because I'm thinking everybody wants to go have their financial advisor be one of these old white men. And then I had the thought, oh, wait, Hilary, they treat you like crap. I bet they treat their female clients like crap too. I bet there's females out there who only want to work with a female and you can kill it in that market. And it was like a vision I could never go back. I can never go back from. Honestly, I don't think I took any new actions in the following month. I'm not kidding. My business doubled just because I had the thought. And it was all women coming to me, women from my past, women who were my colleagues. And so it's been very fortuitous to have had those two life experiences because I'm super compassionate and empathetic, no matter what their financial results are. And I've built a great business that's female focused. And truth is, the business is big enough now. 40% of our clients are men, but they're men who are married to women. And we do have a couple of single men. We do.
Yeah, but I think it's effective to meet women where they're at. Because as you said, that there are a lot of, I won't say that women are inherently at some type of financial disadvantage. However, those who are at a financial disadvantage are more likely, in my experience, to also be women. More likely to be have had that experience where they've been gate kept out of financial decisions or haven't had exposure or education around money. And I just find that to be a common trend, as you said, that it's a really common occurrence to find that to be true for women. And I'm completely in agreement with you. It's why we build what I built. Same thing. It's actually out of the whole, I'm going to prove that this will work and we're going to do it my way. Yeah, it's a little bit of that too, because it was kind of like the quote unquote old white men scenario of, I thought about it and I said, what if I could build a firm that just did it a little bit differently and like cared about people's feelings and started conversations, and we had more of that like feminine touch to it and how we approach things with more empathy. And I said, I bet it will work. and apparently it's working. So
Right.
it's fun to prove that there isn't one way to do something and to get the good results we want.
It is fun. It's fun to have the ability to really niche in the way that we have and to be non-traditional. And I just think in terms of the disempowerment you mentioned, I just think women are more likely to not resonate with the Wall Street speak about money. And men are just more likely to fake it. In my experience, not one gender is naturally more smart about money. Men just say a bunch of things that don't mean anything. And I'm talking about the men at cocktail parties that I hear talking about money, right? They're just talking. And I'm thinking, you're not making any sense.
No, it's true. I think there's just more of a willingness to have the conversations, even if what they're saying lacks substance. It's a bit more of the women will probably wait to speak up until they know what they're talking about. And I feel like men are more, and I'm just generalizing, but there's a study done about this. I remember reading this, that men are more likely to kind of go all in on, let's say it's a job that they know they're unqualified for, show up with confidence and like fake it till you make it. And I find, yeah, that's been my experience though in real life too, is that I find that they'll make it work, but I feel like women are more hesitant.
They'll self-nominate. And that's a lot of what I talk to my business owner clients about is self-nominating. It's like, no one's going to tap you on the shoulder. You have to do it.
Absolutely.
I think to concur with what you said, I do see men doing that more often.
Agreed. But let's talk about the common, I know we talk about the common things that you see when you're starting to work with a client or the types of clients you work with and where they're at. Let's talk about what you do with your clients, typical goals that you help them accomplish, and also some of the ways that might get, or some of the things that might get in the way of those goals. So let's just talk about what are some of the ways that you help your clients, some of the goals that they try to accomplish, and then what can get in their way.
Yeah, I think people don't really realize how long the list of services can be from a traditional comprehensive wealth advisor. So there are 5 areas of financial planning as taught by the Certified Financial Planner designation. And that's cash flow or generating income. Of course, you're earning now if you're working. That's your positive cash flow. But after you retire, you need your investments to generate cash flow. And the stock market goes up and down, but your mortgage bill does not. So we have to figure out how to turn a volatile portfolio into consistent personal income. There is insurance, there is taxes, there is estate planning, and there is your retirement accounts. So how much you save in if you're an employee, your 401k, profit sharing, ESPP, or if there's a whole different set of ecosystem of accounts for business owners. But so, and everything, we say everything that's under that umbrella, we guide you on, we assist with. So we talk with clients in the very beginning. We ask, to your point about it's better to work with a professional who asks more questions. We literally have a 90-minute meeting. And when we first meet them, all I do is ask questions. Right? Because I need to know, I said, I need to know everything about you so I can make decisions the way you would if you knew what I know. And then like literally it's our job to help people achieve their goals. So retirement is the one that that's universal. All of our clients are working toward financial freedom or retirement. Some people want to buy a second house. We got to manage 4 cars every 3 or 5 years. And then we want to talk about whether you're paying for kids to do college education, et cetera, et cetera. There's the sandwich generation conversation because a lot of people our age, I don't know how old you are, I assume 30s or 40s, are paying for parents who are sick and ailing and also raising young kids. And that's expensive, right?
Yeah.
So we're doing all of that. And so some of the things, is that I just really covered like 15 years of a career in 30 seconds?
That's okay.
Is that sufficient for your purposes today?
I think so. We'll dive into some of those examples too. And for the record, I'm 25, just 12th edition.
I was like, is she really 25?
No, of course not. Of course not. No, naive 25-year-old Shannon. No, but love that it's basically these 5 dimensions of financial planning. But I think that what I want listeners to take away from that is write that down: cash flow, insurance, taxes, estate planning, retirement. And one thing I would say is even if you don't have a financial planner, is looking at it from those lenses and go, what do I need? What do I want? What do I have in each of those departments? Figuring out where you might be lacking and maybe making that a focus area, or maybe just asking more questions about those things, because we don't talk about estate planning as young 25-year-olds, but like as even into our 30s, even into our 40s. I know a lot of people who don't even have retirement savings in their 40s and they're now scrambling. So I think that what we have to do is start conversations around each of these things. Would you agree?
Start conversations. Yes. And there are universal recommendations. So it's right. So everyone needs a full estate planning package. No one likes to talk about it. I don't even like to. It's boring to talk about. However, the problems you run into if you don't do it are absolutely debilitating. And so with the estate planning package, you get a trust document, you get a will, you get a power of attorney, and a healthcare power of attorney. That's a universal package. Maybe if you're single and don't own a house and all your assets are in a 401k, you could say, I don't need a trust right now. But if you're married, you need a trust. If you own a house, you need a trust. And yeah, nobody likes to talk about it. But yeah, I'm working with a couple people right now who have had events in their lives in 2023 that are just absolutely debilitating. One man who's late 40s, his wife had a stroke on the street in San Francisco. She's completely brain damaged, but she's alert. So she's alive, right? They had no estate plan. He can't even renew his kids' passports without her signature, right? He can't put them in school. He can't get access to her accounts. He can't, right? Because she's alert, right? So it's just, and a power of attorney would have solved all that problem. He also can't make a new plan. So he is not qualified to say if he dies, who his kids will go to, because she can't sign the document. So I just feel so sad for him. And once you need an estate plan, it's just like insurance. Once you need these things, it's too late. So
yeah, it's a really important thing, because it's also, as much as we hate planning for the negative, or some of the harsh realities of life, right? We don't like planning for the future. We want to kind of picture that's way out there and that's not going to happen, but it can happen at any point in any time. And we talked about on the show before, like you just want to have the pieces in place where you hopefully don't have to use them anytime soon, but you have them so that if something that were to happen, that you're not further debilitated, further harmed by that situation. And it's so important. One of the things that we were talking about before was starting with the end in mind, right? Yes. So starting with the end in mind being a key thing that not just business owners, but any type of financial planning should include. Tell me what that means to you and how you apply it with clients.
Yeah. Well, as financial advisors, we're always taking the 30,000 foot view, right? So the whole goal of financial planning is that your money outlives you. So your money, your balances in your bank accounts live longer than you do. That way you have income your whole life. And so we're like literally planning for what happens after your death. And a lot of people make the mistake of thinking like, Hilary, I'm 55. I want to stop working when I'm 65. I only have 10 years left. Well, no, because probably you're going to live 30 or 35 years after your retirement. I mean, medical science, unless you're not paying attention, continues to get better and better. The billionaires on the planet are all working on extending our lives here, right? So we have 40 or 50 years left to plan, right? Some of the things, so that's how I conceptualize it. And then I think we also talked about how I would like for my clients to start with the end in mind, right? So we're
Right.
guiding them. We're sort of taking what they're putting it in an account. We take it and grow it. We build a moat around it and protect it. But for business owners, sometimes what I see is people get distracted as they're running a business. They forget to really plan for the kind of business that they have. Let me give you an example. So if you have a product business and you run a really great product business, as Shannon, you've probably had clients have great exits. Product businesses can have multi-million dollar exits, and that can be your retirement plan. But if you're running a professional services firm, you're less likely, especially one that depends on your intellectual capital or elbow grease, to have a big exit. I mean, sure, maybe you could sell it to your employees and that's a meaningful thing to do, but it's not going to be extremely financially lucrative for you, probably. If that's the case, you need to pay yourself a lot of money while you're working so that you can live well today and save for tomorrow. But most people do not have this kind of thought process. I think, and you have insight to this as well, but the mindset I kind of see from business owners is like, well, I'm just going to make as much. We're just going to see how much of this thing we can sell. We're just like doing our best. I think I want to say to them, that is not planning with the end in mind at all, right? And of course, how you conceive of a thing impacts how it goes,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, because you as the business owner, your upper limit problems or your upper limit ceiling becomes what the business can do. And so by expanding your thought process, by expanding what you think is possible, you naturally expand what's actually going to happen in your business.
Completely agree. And but I think there's a balance of short-term and long-term goals, right? So if you're building, let's say a professional services business, and I'll use kind of myself as an example, right? Is that I am building with the end in mind, but there is a bit of the building so I don't kill myself now either. And it's like not jumping the gun. Like I'm going to build a team, but that will take time. I'm going to build my methods, but that will take time. A lot of it will be small scale and very much like heavy involvement, and you won't be able to pay yourself for a period of time. But I think once you are cruising, you have a proven offer and you know what you're doing. You have to really start thinking more, and you have to zoom out a little bit and start increasing the range of time you're talking about. As opposed to days, you're talking about decades. As opposed to like you're going, okay, where do I want to be in 3 to 5 years, as opposed to 3 to 5 weeks, because I'm just like trying to make it work. I know there are people
Right.
out there who maybe are in that zone of just starting, and that's totally different. But if you're in that, like, I have a proven offer, I know what I'm doing, and I'm working in professional services of some kind, I feel like there has to be that focus of how are the decisions I'm making today impacting that long game too. 100%.
Correct. And I can speak from my industry specifically. There's a big movement for advisors who charge a monthly fee versus work based on the account balance that they manage, right? And so then they're involved in their clients, I mean, are maybe paying $1,000 a year or something. And this is kind of what I mean, because I look at that and I go, there's no way around that the business owner is propelling him or herself toward poverty. I mean, unless you live in a place that just has almost no cost of living, right? You have to set yourself up or your business up, even from the beginning, to have a potential for high profits. And I've listened to enough of your episodes that I think you would describe yourself as having low cost of living. I've heard you talk about your house, and I think you're moving
now more so.
To that.
Yeah, now more so than before, but Connecticut ain't cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you've strategically set that up. And also when you do take on clients, you're not offering discount services, right? It's not like I'm not the discount provider, right? This is me. This is my family, my ambition, my business. And I'm going to serve people who are going to pay me, because that's how I can muster the energy to get out of bed and work for 5 days a week.
Exactly. And work for the number of clients we want, right? Because I said I only want like 10 to 12 clients. Otherwise, I won't be happy. because I'll have that giant list of emails and I'll stress myself out again. And here I am back working for a firm that I just happen to own. So it's more of like, if I want to change my experience, I need to set the boundaries of what that looks like today, but also consider, is that going to serve me and the future of the business in my goal for it, which is to be a cash flow source. Right. I think that not enough business owners view their business as a cash flow source. They just think of it as a way to spend time while making enough money to fund whatever they're doing in their free time.
To occasionally pull money out of their business bank account to do like a thing that they want in their personal life. But never, it's rare to find someone who will say, without maybe our consultation or coaching, no, I'm going to pay myself a generous salary from this business because why else own a business?
Exactly. And that was something I actually just did. So you'll enjoy this. I did a cash flow forecast last night, given we've had a lot of leads come in lately and a lot of different transactions hitting. And I'm like, I'm going to do my cash flow forecast for next year and see if I can hit my goal. Next year, I can say with confidence, I'm going to pay myself on salary more than I made when I left my director job at a Fortune 50 company. And I was like, I'm going to hit that salary next year, like full, like I've been taking a reduction on it. Like I just kind of taking what we need, right? And investing back into the business, because luckily Jason makes money too. So we have our ability to balance that out. And I said, oh my gosh, 4 years later. And I'm like legit going to make a salary out of my business that I can live off of and that I can support our lifestyle with. And it just hit me like a rock last night. And I was like, oh my God, we did. But it's like, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. And you definitely don't want to bleed your business dry in the first, I'd say, year or so, if I'm generalizing. But correct. You want to make sure that's part of the game, is like, you're supposed to make money from it. You're supposed to generate cash from it. And I think that I felt a sense of guilt, though, I'll admit. I felt a sense of guilt because I was like, I'm going to pay myself this much. And I felt like, and here's the other part. I now have 5 employees.
You're right.
And I was going, should it go to me?
Right.
Should I invest in them? What if I invested in this other thing? Like, I started seeing all the choices in front of me of what I could do other than pay myself. And it's like, do you really need that money, Shannon? And then I was like, you know what? Maybe not. But what I'm doing is creating the choice of what I'm going to do with that money once it's out of the business. And that might go into the other wealth machine. That might go into real estate. That might go into something else. And it's like, I don't need it for lifestyle. But I said, but this is the one way we're going to be able to contribute to retirement. This is the way I'm going to be able to create all those channels that I had when I was in a W-2 job, of setting myself up for that, paying for insurance and other things. So I realized that, no, I don't need all that money to pay the mortgage and pay all the things. Like I make enough now to handle all my lifestyle expenses. There is nothing wrong with chasing more than what you need to live off of so that you can build the wealth. And that was what kind of hit me too.
No, and the point I make with my business owner clients is like, who will you be able to be when you sit at your desk, you open up your bank portals, and there's more money in there than you thought there was? And you feel like, I am being compensated generously. I have proven I have value in the world. Like, just imagine how that imbues you and feeds you and makes you a better person for your clients to meet with. I think especially for people who work one-on-one with people and professionals and successful individuals, we have to be our best self. If I feel like crap about myself, I'm distracted from my meetings, and I don't want that. Right. So one of the things I try to convince people of, because it's true, is money isn't a zero-sum game. Mm-hmm. Although in some ways it's true right now. If you pay yourself that extra $5,000, you're not paying your 5 employees that extra $5,000. But also I would make the case that it's going to give you just that much more clarity, strategic thinking, right? Because you're like, I'm doing something right. And that informs future profitability. Of course, It's sort of imaginary conversation. I don't know that I could ever prove it. I could certainly make my case, but I'm quite sure that people who are overworked and underpaid chronically don't have good business outcomes.
Yeah, I agree. But I think there's a lot of, I'll label it as ego, but I know it's more than that. I think there's a lot of ego, especially with entrepreneurs, in the idea that if they can create money out of thin air, if they can create what they've created, that they can also create wealth in other ways than the proven methods, right?
So like that,
it's kind of that like, well, I have superpowers. Like I
Right.
can
You're a
create money out of thin
magician.
air. I'm a magician. I
Right.
can create money out of thin air. So there's a couple of things that they do. And one of the things I've seen is just they kind of will, it's almost like what you said, where it's like, I'll save later, or I'll do this later. I can create money out of thin air. We'll deal with it later. Number one, but also the idea that they have their own tactics and strategies that are like, well, they don't have my method. I have the recipe to building wealth, and it's not any of the stuff that Hilary talks about. Let's talk about that.
Overconfidence is a well-known cognitive bias. Yes. And it's replete in the entrepreneur industry, what I've seen. And I'm a member of Entrepreneurs Organization, the San Francisco chapter. And so I've had the occasion to see many of their books. You've probably seen more business owner books than I have. I don't know how often you're combing through people's books. And I'm always shocked. I'm like, really? Your business makes multiple seven figures and you have $40,000 saved? Like, really? And it's more common with business owners than with wage earners. However, I think what people don't give its proper due is really the massive amount of intellectual capital that has gone into researching investments, how they work, their characteristics, what we can expect from them based on their typology, right? And if you think about it, the potential returns from the stock market are literally limitless. So if I knew which direction the stock market was going to go tomorrow, I could double, triple down my investment. I could make a mint out of $1 and I could just take that money off the table and go buy an island. I mean, really, so you have to imagine really smart people, and I mean book smart, math smart, have been hard at work on the investing problem for a long time. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, because they're very comfortable with their own level of risk in their business, are comfortable taking what I think risk they really do not take the time to measure, really wrap their brains around in other people's businesses. So entrepreneurs are more likely to invest in their brother's, cousin's, uncle's restaurant, right? Or like tour car company or whatever that may be, when that's a 100% illiquid, totally undiversified investment without any kind of proven track record. And so, metaphorically speaking, if you are in your 20s, it's appropriate to maybe swing for the fences, right? Like put it all on the table because you could change your life. You're just probably not going to. And that's the thing people don't realize. And you and I were chatting just a few minutes before you hit record about this very phenomenon. But if you win, from my perspective, it's a problem. So if you invest in your cousin's uncle's business and you get an exit that's profitable, it's a problem because now you are more overconfident that you know how to pick businesses that will have lucrative exits. Angel investing and venture capital is a very punitive activity. The very top compensated venture capitalists who literally create fortunes, I mean, they literally make money move around the world. They expect 90% of their portfolio to fold, to go out of business. And with angel investors who do it full time, it's more like 95 or 99%. And their exits are much smaller, right? So if you get something right, as you were saying, Shannon and Hilary recommend take your money off the table. Go. That's the only way you capitalize on that win. And then do what the experts have been researching for so long. At this point, we know so much about how the stock market performs and what to expect from it. And there's so many great people have done the work of making investing in the overall stock market both available, easy, and low cost. It's just foolish just because you don't know or haven't really taken the time to understand how much intelligence has gone into that. It's way beyond what you would ever conceive of. It's foolish not to take advantage of it, in my humble, not so humble opinion.
I love it. It's a balance of that overconfidence and that underconfidence, right? We went through the whole spectrum of like, give yourself more credit, but don't think you're, don't stink, right? So there's a balance, but there's also,
you bring that up.
but what's interesting is, and I agree with you. I always add like the nuance though, of like, I think entrepreneurs as well, they love a good risk. There's something about the adrenaline rush of like, I'm going to put my money in this and we're going to take a bet. They like to play the roulette as opposed to I don't know what the play the card games or something that actually involves strategy and control of what your outcome is. But They love to just go, I'm going to go all in and see what happens, right? And there's nothing wrong with that approach with the big asterisk. And I say, and this is something that I discuss with my mentor, Mel Abraham, all the time. And we talk about that the path to wealth is really paved with the basics, paved with the ETFs, the index funds, the stock market, the basic vehicles that are supported strongly by that intelligence that you laid out. But there will be times where you have a little extra money, you set it aside with a specific intention, and you go, this is kind of my play money, like to explore new things and to learn with. And like I did that with crypto. I had like a certain amount of money, not very much, but I had a certain amount of money set aside to go, let me just like get some experience with this so I can figure out what this is about and how it works and learn more about it. And it might be investing in your friend's company. As long as you have that money and
as long as you can afford to lose it.
You can afford to lose it. If you can afford to lose it. Like I go to the casino in Foxwoods, I bring a few $100 and I go, this is my cost for a day of entertainment. And if I lose it, but I can't lose more than I brought. And I go, that's it. I brought this. Right. There is now a limit on what I can lose. Unlimited in what I can gain. I'll play that game. But I have to be ready to be okay with the loss. And I think that's what we have to approach it with is be okay losing everything in the name of tuition to learn. I call it tuition. I'm like, that was a really good class.
Learn the lesson, babe. This is what I tell my 7-year-old. Yes.
Yeah.
Make the mistake. Just learn the lesson. Don't do it again. No, you and I completely agree on that. I think that the data is in on how people get wealthy. A third of people who are wealthy inherit it. A third do it working for corporations that pay them in stock that goes up in value. And a third do it running businesses. And I think the most common way is to have a very lucrative exit. And so if you're talking about making investments with amounts of money that are sort of outside that, so outside your earnings, compensation for work, making investments, I say the number 5% of your investable net worth is an affordable loss. I mean, we can all imagine the stock market going up or down 5% on any given day. And I say 5% because I know most people don't limit it to that because they actually will go to 10. So,
yeah.
But that's when I have clients who have, we call them Vegas accounts. So have
some
some fun.
The high rollers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that too, because I believe in the entrepreneurial spirit and I wouldn't want to stifle it. But there's a degree of like, do what's proven and what will get you the result, because I don't think the right place to gamble is with your future. I think that you have to be focused on the key things that have been proven and that have proven they work. And this happens with everything. It's basically prove it doesn't work before you change how you want to do it. But I think you're absolutely spot on with that and how to actually build sustainable wealth, which should be the goal of most business owners, if not all, is to build the sustainable wealth that you can by using your business and not just having the business be a way to spend extra time and to occupy yourself as you're making money during it. But how are you going to exit? How's it going to actually contribute to your wealth? That's a big, important question.
Correct. And I think a lot of business owners get disenchanted with the volatility in the stock market.
Yes.
And when people say volatility, because volatility means up and down, nobody ever says volatility and means up. They all mean down. And for example, right now, the global stock market is at the same level it was at the end of 2019. It hasn't been exciting. In fact, it's taken endurance to stay invested, right? And most business owners, that's anathema. What? No returns for 3 years? I would fire someone who worked for me for 1 year and didn't provide returns, right? It's just a different mindset. It's a different mindset. When you put your money in a passive investment vehicle, you agree to just lean on that, which is fundamentally the stock market is a scoreboard for entrepreneurship around the world. So it's just different. And no investment is going to be up 10% every year, right? If you want a consistent return, you have to take the returns of CDs, which are a guaranteed negative because they'll never exceed inflation. So it really is I say the stock market is the only true passive income. Most business owners say, oh, I have passive income. No, you don't. You work really hard for that passive income.
Yeah, I do. Well, it's the eyes of the IRS, right? There's passive income in the eyes of the IRS, and then there's passive income in reality. But I would agree with you. I think that the only passive income is interest, and it's basically you put your money in something and it pays you back without you lifting a finger. Unless that's the case, that's not passive.
Correct.
Yeah, totally agree. So Hilary, tell everyone listening where they can find out more about working with you and what you're up to these days and where they can learn more from you.
Lovely. So everything I do is on my main website, which is hendershottwealth.com. Hendershott has no C and two T's. But you're right now, you're in a podcast player. So I'd love it if you check me out at Love Your Money, where we talk about everything from money mindset to investing best practices to the financial repercussions of a divorce or just everything about money. So love your money.
Yes. And go catch my episode over there too.
Excellent.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Hilary, thank you for being here. We really appreciate all your knowledge and everything that you've shared with our listeners today.
It's been great, Shannon. Thanks.